So we get to the top 5. Dark Souls 3. Now, this is technically the 3rd Souls game in my list. And I love Dark Souls. And this is partially on my list, even though I think Dark Souls 3 is not necessarily a disappointment, but is lesser in a way. At least in first glance, there's something kind of missing from it. It retreads areas that in like a way that's not interesting. Like you go back to Anne Orlando, and it's like, see, Anne Orlando, and I'm like, okay, but like try a little harder with it and like make it something incredible. It wasn't. It was just like, this is Anne Orlando, and you're gonna see the steps, and you're gonna fight a boss, and you're gone. I'm like, all right, but it would have been interesting to be like in a destroyed castle of Anne Orlando, or it wasn't a remix of what you've seen before. It was straight up what you've seen before in many respects, and that's the problem. But it also had one of the best final thirds of a Souls game, which is a tough part for a Souls game to do, because that's when you're like overpowered and you have all these stuff where you're storming the castle, like fighting this dragon, and the last 4 or 5 bosses, really starting with the dancer, are incredible, and just some of the best moments in a Souls game to me. I think the middle suffers, but that end game is incredible, and this DLC area is super well done. It doesn't have enough bosses, and I still haven't beaten the final one in it, the only main one. I beat the optional one, because it's 3 fucking stages, and I just am terrible. I'm also underleveled. Doesn't matter. This is incredible work. I know there's more DLC coming, which I just realized, like, oh shit, there's more DLC coming. This could come out of nowhere. It could be in March. March could be the Switch and more Dark Souls DLC, which is great. Super great. To get Zelda, my 2 favorite franchises, get some Zelda and some Dark Souls in the same month, that's a good month. And it's tough to judge Dark Souls 3 because I am such a big fan of the series. But I really do think it deserves it because of how it kind of melds some of the Bloodborne stuff in it. It is a faster combat system. It takes that faster idea and takes it back to Dark Souls, which really doesn't change it too much, but just enough where you can feel it. You can feel it in the combat of like, oh, this would not have worked. Like, this would not have worked in 2. I would have died here. Or they would have died. Or like, this would have played out completely differently for X, Y, and Z. I'm glad this is the last one. I think there's stuff they can go back to the drawing board and like really do some interesting things with, in the same way as Bloodborne is way better than Dark Souls 3. And because it's different, because it changes the setting, because it didn't go back to Anne Orlando and be like, huh, see what we did? Like, it didn't do that. It did something new and fresh and interesting. And this was just another Dark Souls, and that's great. You know, I'll always want more Dark Souls. I'm fine with that. But I think I can expect more, and that's why it's only number 5, whereas Bloodborne was my number 1 game of last year. Like, bar none. Not even anything close to Bloodborne. Phenomenal game. Now, can we get a PS Pro patch on that, please? Can we get that? Because it runs a little sloppy. Nothing will ever work. Nothing will ever work. Do a quick drink break. Merry Christmas. It's not actually Christmas. Spoiler. Hyper Light Drifter. Another Dark Souls-y game that I played this year. Now, alright, come on. There we go. Now, Hyper Light Drifter has a lot of things that are going for it. They're really good. It's like a 2D Zelda. Like, thumbs up for that. That's incredible. And it's tough in a Dark Souls-y-ish way with a focus on bosses and overcoming the odds. And Hyper Light Drifter did something that very few games do, not since like something like Fez, where after playing this game for a couple hours, you'll be like, oh, I can just take on these enemies no problem. Like, they used to be an issue, but now I'm just like jumping around and fighting them. No problem at all. Flawless. Let's do it. Right? And you start noticing things in the world. You start seeing these little symbols on the ground. There's no dialogue. There's no text in the game to tell you what to do. And that sounds like, oh, it could be super annoying and confusing. It's not. You just start to see these things. You see little patterns on the floor like, oh, I know what that means. That means there's a secret here. But I didn't know that. I wouldn't have known that. I just thought it was debris. And the exploration and the combat, and the bosses and the world, the art, everything is so beautiful and well executed. I just like incredible stuff like that secrets, finding the different collectibles, so much fun. It is such a fun game. I really, now my top 4 are like just games I love. Just love. There's very few things I'd change about this game. Maybe I'd just want more of it. It's such an achievement. I really think, it got a decent amount of coverage from people, but not enough. Like, this game deserves so much accolades in the same way some people gush about Bastion or Limbo and now Inside or like Castle Crashers, these great indie games that people always bring up. Braid, Fez, which I love Fez. This deserves to be in that same list. It's an incredible achievement. To mix Zelda and give it this combat system and give it this secretive world, there are very few experiences like it. Completely blown away. And now I think it's on like everything. That's not true. It's not on everything. But it's on a lot of stuff. And I won't be able to exit full screen, but it's on a lot of fucking stuff. What does this do? Oh, that doesn't do what you think it does. Does it? Number 3, game I reviewed last week, Quantum Break. Let's skip to like here. Quantum Break is not, I mean, people love Remedy. I'm not I don't really care either way. I fucking love Quantum Break. It has this perfect, to me, time travel storyline where it's not overly confusing, but it's just interesting enough to where you start seeing things and picking up on little details of like, oh, that's why that happened, and oh, but that person did this time travel nonsense, and what does that mean? And there were moments where I'm reading diary entries, and they're like big, long text files, and I'm reading it and fully engrossed, just reading this piece of text that's on the side of the screen. And most of the game is not done from the perspective of hiding in a wall. But I enjoyed all of its storytelling, even the show, which is not amazingly well done, but is still super interesting, and it shows different aspects of the story that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, and then wouldn't have made sense for you to see or you to know. And you'll start seeing these little diary entries, and it's incredible. At times, this game is one of the most realistic-ish looking games I've ever played. It does this kind of strange visual effect where it looks almost like you're watching an SD TV show on an HD TV, but in a good way. Like it starts looking like, is that real? And you're like, oh, and it's kind of blurry. You're like, oh no, it's not real. Like that's how it starts to look. And it's weird. It's hard to describe. It's hard to even see sometimes because the other times it doesn't look that great at all. But besides that, the effects in general and the stuff that happens, I haven't even touched on the actual gameplay of like finding these upgrade points and upgrading your abilities, of time jumping around. The shooting is so much fun because of those abilities, and you're hopping around, and then you'll like do a dash, and then when you pull out your gun right after the dash, it slows down time, and every time a combat encounter ends, the last guy dies slowly, and it's just dumb fun shit like that. And it's not like, oh, I never used my this ability, or I never used my that ability. Like these combat situations at the end, you're using everything and you're throwing it all, like grenade, do this, freeze that guy, jump around here, run real fast over here. Like it's everything. Everything is used and you need it. And it's incredible. It's so much fun. Like one of the best things I can say about it too is I wish there was more combat. there's just not enough. It doesn't overwhelm you. It doesn't do what I feel like Doom did, which is just have 3 extra levels for no fucking reason. Just like, here's more enemies, here's more enemies. Like, it didn't do that. It left me wanting more constantly. And these combat encounters start happening like when time is broken and time is like rewinding itself and fast forwarding. Like if you blow up a car, the car blows up and then it like reshapes itself. It does super cool stuff like that. You just don't see. You just don't see stuff like that. And it was so much fun. And it, again, didn't overstay its welcome with the combat. I would have loved more. I would have loved more story. I would have loved, like, that was my most disappointing thing about the ending, is that just like, it just ended. Like, I just wanted more. The ending of like everything, like Game of Thrones is going to end. Everyone's going to be pissed off because it's not going to be a great ending. In the same way as this, like the ending is fine and interesting. I love the implications of it. It's very vague in a lot of respects. But I just wanted more. Like, I just wanted more of it. Not in a way of like, this game's too short. It was like 12 hours or something. I just wanted more because I wanted to be in that world more. I wanted to exist in it. I wanted to experience it. And that's, like, I can't say that about very many games. To just want more of it. And even as I'm talking about it now, I think maybe I rated it too low. I don't know. The next game is pretty flawless, so. Will I be able to close this video? No. And everything's broken. Nevertheless, what's number 2? Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Now, will this video load? Because, sure shit no, none of the other ones did. The thing about Uncharted 4, and isn't there a cutscene at the beginning of this? Is that I've never been a big Uncharted fan or person. Like, I think the games are fine. I never really got it. Like, these games, they just had so many problems. Like, the combat never really worked for me in 1 through 3. The puzzles never really worked for me. They were just, like, they were either super easy but super annoying to solve. Like, you had to move this dial, then walk over here, and move this dial, and then walk over here. Like, it was, like, I know the answer, just, I need to get to the answer. But Uncharted 4 is the exact game I feel like everyone's been saying Uncharted's been this entire time. This is the flawless experience where I love, people say that the beginning of this game is slow, and it is, but I loved that. I loved how slow it was. I loved, like, I don't need to fight everyone. Like, there's so many fewer combat encounters in this, and that was great. And they added stealth, which was also great, giving you this, like, oh, I can do this stealthily, or I can do the combat, which is fine, but I'm not necessarily good at it. So I'm going to take these guys out with stealth, and the stealth is good. This shows me so much growth from The Last of Us to now with Naughty Dog, and I can't wait to see The Last of Us 2, Part 2, because of this. Because of what they've shown here is so impeccable. Like, every moment of it really worked for me. Especially, like, there's so many more, like, towards the middle in the Madagascar portion is this Mad Max action scene that I did not see. I did not have spoiled for me, and it was incredible. Also the ending, which I love the ending, and I really hope in 5-6 years we get another game and it happens to deal with the ending. That's what I want. That's awesome. There's so much good stuff with this. It's a flawless game in a lot of respects. I have been playing it through it again on Crushing, which is the hardest difficulty, just for fun. And you can't do the stealth as well, so that's kind of annoying. But just like seeing how they've set up this world, like they really did an impeccable job of piecing it all together. It's, not to mention, it's probably the most beautiful game I've seen on a, like, especially on a console. Like, holy shit. And PS4 Pro, yeah, 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up for that. Beautiful in all respects. The acting, the story, again, I don't mind that it's slow. I liked it. I'm skipping the cutscenes now, but like the first time through, watching them all, loved it. Loved it. I think more, it's clearly the best one to me. Clearly the best one. I think The Last of Us I think this game might be technically better. I don't know. It's so good. So fucking good. But this is only game 2. So that's what I have to get to. I have to close this goddamn fucking thing. One day this will work. And that day will be the day I find a better solution. That's the day it'll work.